no one, including Philadelphia, would like to have Nick Sirianni as their head coach. I am sorry, but can we? They got a clean house. I would say it's probably the most mismanaged organization in all of sports in the last 3 years. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the B Team. We got Mike, we got Muller, and we have a new presenting sponsor of the show. We're going to be helped by the people over at Tanczos Beverages Bethlehem. I mean, Tanczos Beverages in general. Great beer store. We shouted them out last time. We're doing some beer reviews on the show this January. We'll probably extend them through the year. But we're going to do some non-alcoholic beers this January, like we said last time. We got a lot of football to talk. Obviously, you got us too. We tried to get an Eagles fan on to just absolutely go berserk, but he fell through. Too ashamed of his team and Jalen Hurts at the moment. And then we're going to have a Bears fan on, but some stuff happened, and we're going to have him on probably next week, win or lose, hopefully a win. But the big thing for this week is Tanczos Beverages, Mike. They are going to be the sponsor of the show moving forward. We got another non-alcoholic beer to try. We got, I think it's Elysian Easy Dust. I think it's called Elysian. I could be wrong with that. But Elysian Easy Dust IPA. So we'll be trying this in a few minutes here. I say with the new presenting sponsor, Mike, if you want to get some words in on this show, do you think we should do it right now?
Yeah, let's do it right now. Listen, Tanczos Beverage, they've always had our back, even throughout summer. When we went to go get we would always go get slushies, have a day in the backyard. They are always there. They are always ready. They are always prepped with whatever we need, and they have always come in clutch. So this was bound to happen at some point, and I could not be any happier that we, as a podcast, are reviewing non-alcoholic beers in this time of dry January with the great old Tanczos Beverage. So I'm ecstatic to keep, sponsoring them and then sponsoring us, drinking the beer that they give us. It's exciting. How can you be mad about that?
No, it's a partnership like no other. That's a Masters reference. So let's do this. So Tanczos Beverages giving us a 6-pack to try here. We're going to review it. We did New Trail Broken Heels non-alcoholic last week. We gave that an 8.1. So currently in first place is that at 8.1. This is another one. I'm not sure if you've ever had Space Dust by Elysian, but I believe that one's a good beer. I've never had it either. Tends to fly off the shelves. So this one looks pretty similar, I would say, in terms of what the can looks like. Here, let's get some of these cans on screen here, Mike.
I got it.
Yeah, so if you guys see that, right, we got Elysian Easy Dust IPA, non-alcoholic, contains less than 0.5% alcohol. Like we said, it takes about 35 to get hammered. All right, we got to stop saying that probably since we're trying to promote like the whole non-alcoholic thing here. All right, so reading the back of this. A smooth ride on a dusty trail. Easy Dust IPA fuses pure hop expression with clean, refreshing drinkability. Bright notes of grapefruit intertwined with a touch of malt and a whisper of pine. That right there sounds good, and I'm not even halfway done reading this thing, Mike. Brimming with unmistakably bold hop character, Easy Dust explores the non-alcoholic frontier with the same intrepid spirit that makes Space Dust iconic. All right, so I'm starting to see a common theme here. That word intrepid has come up both times so far with these non-alcoholic beers, and I still don't even know what it means. Do you actually know what it means?
Oh, no idea. But hey, shout out to whoever is marketing that because they're pulling out great vocabulary.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be an SAT word right there. All right, so it says, keep your head in the stars and your feet on the ground. Trust the dust.
Listen, for non-alcoholic beers, the way that they present them, because we had this with the recent beer that we tried, the way they present it and they throw out, a nice little description of what you're drinking and what it relates to, it's incredible. I mean, these guys are absolutely spot on. And I guess it just goes to show like where non-alcoholic beers, like it's kind of taking off. A lot of bars, they want to have sober bars now, non-alcoholic, feels like you're drinking a beer, but you're not. So I guess we're going to see a lot more of these cheesy, descriptions of all these beers. But listen, I'm not the biggest grapefruit fan, but I'm always going to have an open mind when we're trying these. I know for a fact it's going to be much more hoppier than the sweet or the what was it? It was kind of like a hazy that we drank. I think it's going to be a lot more hoppier. So I'm excited, man. I'm ready.
I agree, and I don't know if you heard that. I'm sure the people just heard that in their vehicles, but I just cracked this thing open, gave it some audio. Mike, what are you smelling over there?
Smelling a beer.
I like that. I like the sound of that. All right, let's give this thing a taste. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Come on now. Ooh. Oh yeah.
It's a little more fruitier.
A little more. I taste the pine. I can sense the pine, and that's what I'm getting right off the bat. A little hint of grapefruit, but pine to the max.
Yeah.
I think it was better than the recent beer we drank, and that was still a good one. Non-alcoholic beer. I got to be specific. This one, it's nice. It's actually not as hoppy as I thought. It's a little bit more subtle in a way.
It's a smooth ride.
Oh, this is good. That's nice. I think Muller, I think this one, and it's kind of like apples to apples. This one tastes more heavy and more like an actual beer than the recent one. The recent one was still good. I have no knock on it. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, so when you say like a real beer, what do you mean by that? Because I think that there's so many different beers right now. So what are we defining as a real beer? You know what I mean?
I think for me, the last beer that we tried, it tasted, it was very light. It tasted like a very light beer. Like it had the flavor, but this one is a little heavier, which makes it closer to like an actual, alcoholic beer in a way.
All right, I got you. Okay. All right.
It's got a little bit more like hit to it in a way.
Yeah. No, this is something that I could definitely see myself picking up on, like a Wednesday or a Thursday night. You're sitting there, you want to watch the Rangers, you want to watch the Flyers, Sixers are on. You might have Nets game on. I don't even know if they air those anymore. But yeah, you could be like, yeah, I don't want to drink, but I know something that's very smooth that'll make me feel like I'm drinking. Elysian Easy Dust IPA. I could see it.
I'm thinking my score's high.
High.
It's up there. I really enjoyed this. Like this is only our second NA beer that we've reviewed. This is as close as it gets to an actual beer, in my opinion.
Okay.
We still have a lot more to review on the way, but this is moving the needle by far.
Oh, definitely. All right. Well, here, let's like we always say here for the second time we're doing this, one more sip. Everyone knows the rules.
After like 7.
After we finish the beer.
After I'm literally at the bottom. Wow. Every time I drink it, I think the score just keeps climbing.
It does get better with.
It's good. It's real good.
That's
I'm
very good
trusting
one.
The dust.
Right.
That I am absolutely trusting the dust.
I love that. I love that so much. All right, let's give this thing a score here. All right, so out of 10. All right, 3. We're gonna do it on 1. So 3, 2, 1, score.
Okay.
All right, ready? You want one more?
One more? Yeah. Let me go here. Oh yeah. Yep. I got it.
My favorite part about here, I'll save it. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. 8.5.
8.7.
Oh yeah, 8.6. Perfect.
Yeah, that is a top tier non-alcoholic beer, and I love that we got that right off the bat because the hazy IPA that we had last week, it was an 8.1. We were really just diving into it. This just made a statement right off the bat.
Yeah, that one's good.
And this could be high. If this was like our 5th that we reviewed, it could be a whole different ballgame. 8.6, yeah, that's perfect.
No, I agree with you. And it's tough because I think myself going in there and getting a non-alcoholic beer, I'm looking at the can. I'm looking at it based on what beers do we drink on the, when we're drinking at a bar. What are we drinking on a weekend? And like Space Dust might be a beer we drink. Broken Heels is probably a drink that we're going to get. And, I think I might have screwed us in terms of the scores, where we're going to have some beers that are good, but they're okay. That should probably be in the 7 to 8 range. And we're just going to have these ones skew it. I have a feeling we're not going to have many 9.5 to 10s ever.
It's tough, though. It's the thing is, when you look at a non-alcoholic beer is tough to really choose. I feel like the only way it catches the eye is the artwork that's on it, and the descriptions that they have. Like,
yes,
you're not going to go just seek out one specific non-alcoholic beer. That's not how it works. Maybe by company, but okay, like they've made this, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful can, and they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it.
Nailed it. All right, so yeah, Elysian Easy Dust IPA. Now available. It's brand new, actually. I forgot to say this. Just hit the shelves at Tanczos Beverages. So if you went over there between the hours of like 12 to 2, you couldn't even purchase it. But after 2 o'clock, purchase it all you want. So go over there, grab some Easy Dust IPA by Elysian. Go ahead, get some slushies. Go ahead and get your beers if you're not participating in I was going to say No Shave November, but it's not November, Dry January. And, let's get the party going here with Tanczos Beverages. Shout out to Tanczos Beverages, our new presenting sponsor. They're awesome, great people, family business. They have a location in Bethlehem and Northampton. Go make it happen today. Elysian Easy Dust IPA 8.6. Terrific.
Yeah, that's... you know what's funny, Muller? Even with the nacho reviews, we knew what to expect with some. But this, again, whole different realm, and just to get smacked with a beer that good, it just, it might skew the numbers up. We'll see, but now I think we have a gauge of like where I think this one, we're going to go off this one now for every other beer that we do. This will be remembered.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, throwback to our nacho reviews when we absolutely skewed the scores by going to possibly the best nachos in the entire Lehigh Valley on the first one. That was brutal. Shout out to those guys over there at Apollo, the guy who asked you for a cigarette, the waitress who followed us and blew us up. I think she had an issue, but that's all right. Yeah, all right, regardless. We're a football show. Let's get to the football. Shout out to Tanczos Beverages.
Shout out to Tanczos.
Hell of a weekend, Mike. Hell of a weekend.
Amazing.
Yeah, Wild Card Weekend was fantastic. I want to start with one divisional round game in particular, but not for the teams that are involved in the game. The Houston Texans defense and the New England Patriots defense looked unreal this weekend. Looked fantastic. I think both offenses need to improve a good bit to be able to actually counteract each other's defenses in the next round. But the biggest story coming out of this section of the playoff bracket was very obviously going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers parting ways with head coach Mike Tomlin this afternoon. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last 19 seasons, got him a Super Bowl. The guy, he never had a losing season. He refused to lose games. And the fans hated that. They hated being 500. They hated winning divisions. They hated it all. Cheering for his head for the last 6 months, 2 years. Yeah, hats off to our guy Mike Tomlin here. A legendary coach. I'm glad he got to go out on his terms. He stepped down. He can take the next year off. He can do TV. He can chill at home. He can do whatever he wants to do. And it just leaves so many options open for him because the Steelers have his rights for, I think it's the next year or two. So he'll have to be traded if he's going to want to coach again, which is good for both parties in a way.
Yeah, I thought that was smart. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And, I look at this situation and I'm like, Mike Tomlin is really only hated in Pittsburgh. John Harbaugh is really only hated in Baltimore. What would happen if they flip-flopped and Mike Tomlin was the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh became the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? It would never happen in a million years, but my God, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on Mike Tomlin.
I mean, I think signing Aaron Rodgers, and real quick, hats off, much respect. He's been over 500 pretty much every single season that he's coached. He's made the playoffs with, average to below average teams or rosters. And he's won the big game. And he's just that type of coach that you want on your team. Disciplined, leader of men. And, you got to give kudos to a great career for him in Pittsburgh. Now we see what happens, whether he goes to another team right now, whether he takes a year off. But seeing them sign Rodgers before the season started, you had a slight feeling that this would happen. But, we've been, ever since the show, we've talked about this every single season where they still haven't found their quarterback. They're still trying to look for answers. Mike Tomlin's still taking them to the playoffs. They're still, they're over 500. It was just, we said this so many times, Colin. It was just time for a change. And now it's here. And it's a reality that the Pittsburgh Steelers fans have to just accept, where you haven't found a quarterback yet. Mike Tomlin is winning games, and it's just, you're losing every single time in the first round. And how, it's a strange dynamic where, okay, he's that good of a coach where he's going to take you to the playoffs, but you're also going to lose in the first round pretty much every single year. And I think if this game was a little bit different, where they didn't lose 30-6 and, the offense showed life and maybe it was closer, maybe we'd be in a different position. But, the offense was stale. And you got to give credit to Houston because that defense is just so good. But where Mike Tomlin goes from here, I would not be shocked if teams were already reaching out and seeing if they can interview him. But, does he want to do that? He's been with the Steelers for almost 20 years now. It's like, does he want to go somewhere and try it out and restart and, instill a new system into this team that, hasn't, they're going to have to adjust to it. So I don't know where Mike Tomlin goes from here. The Steelers, on the other hand, they got, number one, they got to find the quarterback. Because they're not an organization that's going to rebuild. That is not in their mantra at all. They got to get a quarterback. Their defense is still legit. They always will be legit. But the offense is an issue. The offense has been an issue. You give DK Metcalf a massive bag. It's just nothing has worked. And Mike Tomlin was never the scapegoat because he was always the guy that people knew was just going to be the same old Mike Tomlin. It showed over literally 20 years. But I mean, that game, you sign Aaron Rodgers. That was probably the best chance for them to actually win a playoff game in a while. He's lost 6 straight. That, not off the top of my head, but with Aaron Rodgers there being present on that offensive team, that was their best chance. And it did not look like it at all. Yes, they held on. The first half, it was a close game. But, that's a tough defense they're going against. And they are a hot-ass team right now. But it was time. It was time last year. It was time 2 years ago. I'm not going to say they wasted it because, again, they were over 500 and they made the playoffs. But now at least they can, they rip the Band-Aid off and they move on. Where it might be ugly for the next, 2-3 years, but at least they can, refresh themselves with a new head coach, a new system, maybe get an offensive guy in there who could try to find their quarterback. They have Will Howard. Do they see something in him? So it was necessary, and I think Pittsburgh Steelers fans agree. They didn't for the longest time. You and I know this. But I think after last year, it was like, okay, they started to turn, I think it's time, I don't know how much longer he's got, how many more times we're going to be able to, withstand the same shit every single year. So I think it was the right move for both. And again, it's a win-win because Mike Tomlin, they still own the rights to him. If he does go somewhere else, at least Pittsburgh's going to get something in return. I just think that goes to show, the type of person that Mike Tomlin is. So, and the type of coach he is. So I think it was necessary. Will it hurt them for a year or two? Yes, it will. But, now it's in the past. You got to move forward. It was the right thing to do.
I agree with you. And I think from a coaching candidate perspective, right, there's a lot of really good coaches that are now on the market. And I think we're at 9 teams are without a head coach at the moment. The Steelers opening up their head coaching position is massive. Massive for where you think some of these coaches are going to end up. Because let me tell you, being the Atlanta Falcons head coach versus being the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach is a lot different. Number one, job security. If you become the Steelers head coach, you're almost guaranteed at least 10 years. And on top of that, the Steelers have only had 3 coaches, right? So there's something to be said about the prestige of, okay, I am one of 4 head coaches ever in this great franchise's history. And I think that's going to sway a lot of guys to that position. You're going to see Mike McDaniels going and getting interviews there. Like these top guys that are on the market are going to want to get interviewed there before they accept another job, just because it's the Steelers. And that situation is like the defense looks very good, sure, but that offense is a mess, right? So they're going to have a big cleanup project when they get there. But I think it's worth it for a lot of these guys that understand football and understand it's not always about having the best player in the league. Sometimes it's about that culture that's in the building, and that's what Pittsburgh always has.
Yeah, and I think, Pittsburgh has always hired like the same type of styled head coach where, again, leader of men, more so defensive. It's been like that for decades with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're a very selective, organization for a reason. This is one of the most touted franchises in all of sports. And they have a very good track history of, hiring the right guys and them having success. They're not just going to hire someone who's been a popular name, is different, does things differently. I think the way the Rooneys think is they got to hire someone who is another version of a Mike Tomlin, who is another version of a Bill Cowher. They're not going to go personally, I don't think Mike McDaniel is even in the question for them. I don't think he's the type of guy that they want. If they wanted to change things up and go, hey, let's get a guy who's more of a tactician and can actually, scheme up the X's and O's, better offense. But they've always, prided themselves on defense. They've always been a defensive team for so many years, and that's not going to change unless the Rooneys want to make that change. If they want, something different besides, defense, leader, maybe they go, more offensive guru, getting their quarterback, putting up a lot of points. It's a different league now. 20 years from now is way different than what it is now. So it's good. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers job, their head coaching position, like it is one of the most interesting ones to watch because, you might get some of these guys that are a little bit older. Like just for an example, a hypothetical, like Bill Belichick, it's Bill. I'm just saying.
No, I feel like if we're gonna bring Bill Belichick and some of these older guys in, I hear where you're coming from in terms of they might want to take a look at that job because it's the Steelers. I think the Steelers would be making a huge mistake if they did that. If they want to go the offensive route, you got Mike McCarthy out there who's looking to get back into the mix here, and he's a Pittsburgh guy through and through. That would be a very good hire for the organization. Now, if we want to stick with defense, you got Shula out there in LA. He's done a great job. I think bringing him in, he's probably the top for the Steelers. I would say between him and Brian Flores, probably the 2 top guys. If they can't get one of them, I wouldn't mind a Robert Saleh revenge tour in Pittsburgh with that defense. I know you have your take on it, but he can look back on those years with the Jets and say, you know what? Yes, that organization sucks. I'm going to go to a good organization now. Okay, what did I do wrong what did I do on my part wrong when I was on the Jets? And he can try and fix that on the Steelers. And I think that second time around, it might be a good thing, especially with the Steelers organization. That's a completely different thing than being with the Jets, and you know that best yourself.
Yeah, I think the way they approach it is I can't see them taking a swing on some, hotshot, college coach, never coached in the NFL, not as much experience. Like the Steelers, the way they operate, I just think it's either someone from inside the organization or someone that has a proven record, like a John Harbaugh. But again, I doubt that happens. Someone who's been around football for a long time that at least has some wins under their belt, playoff appearances, someone who's proven. That's the way I think the Steelers are going to approach it. I just don't think they just take a random swing at someone like, a Cliff Kingsbury, a Mike McDaniel, like, a Dan Quinn. Like, I just don't see that happen. Or like, maybe a Matt LaFleur. That would be like the furthest I would go for like an offensive guy. But it's, the more we dive into the offseason, the more we're going to see, a lot of these other coaches making themselves available. Like, I think Mike McCarthy, like you said, is actually a very good fit. Chris Shula, I also think that could be a very good fit. Those are two really good names you pulled out. So Mike McCarthy fits.
Yeah, and Chris Shula is coming out of that what's it called? What's his name out there? McVay. Why did I say McShay? McVay. He's in that McVay coaching tree now. I mean, he's been there forever. I believe that they actually were really good friends, might have gone to college together, something like that. Really close. And, McVay's a genius. If he could bring even half of what McVay's got going on out there in L.A., that's going to result in some wins, and that'll result in some division wins. So, yeah, I think the Steelers are going to have their choice of coach going into this offseason. I don't think they're going to be shortchanged on the amount of people that want that job. It's just going to be, can they hit again, which their track record, they tend to hit. So
now let me ask you, since Mike Tomlin is gone, where do you think Aaron Rodgers stands? Do you think this is it? Because I do.
That man should extend his reach into the darkness. That man should depart. Like, listen, people are going to look at this and be like, oh, he's going out of the NFL after getting smacked around by the Houston Texans and being shown up by CJ Stroud. I'd beg to differ. Aaron Rodgers came into this season with very low expectations for himself. Everyone that was watching the Steelers thought they were going to come in last place. Everyone that was watching the Steelers was like, Aaron Rodgers, this is a mess. We have a coach that's on the ropes. We have a quarterback that's hanging on to life barely. He just died at the Jets and came back and is now a Steeler. What are we doing here? And we're looking at an offense that's basically DK Metcalf and a few running backs. Looking at a defense that their best player stabs himself in the lung and can't play. Right? There was so much about this team that, it didn't look like they could even come close to winning a division. And I think there's a lot of pride in Aaron Rodgers going out there and winning one of the hardest divisions in football on the final day against a team that most people would say has an MVP quarterback, a best running back possibly of all time. They have one of the best coaches of all time, a great defense. A team that really should have been pushing for a Super Bowl this year, and he won the division over them and knocked them out of the playoffs. I think there's a lot that he can take into retirement from that game and saying, no, I'm actually going out on top because I figured out a way to win the AFC North when a lot of Steelers quarterbacks couldn't with a lot less.
Yeah, and you know what? When you look at the Steelers, I agree with you definitely. The thing is with the Steelers too, it's not like they're in a bad position. They're and that will go to show once whoever the head coach is the defense still going to be at the level it's at now? What's going to happen with Cam Hayward? What's going to happen with TJ Watt? Is Jalen Ramsey going to stay in safety, or is he going to go? Like, there are questions that need to be answered, but they're not. It's not like they don't have the players to compete. We saw that this year. We saw that last year. We've seen that every single year. But is it a Mike Tomlin action? Is it Mike Tomlin that's getting these guys to the spot where they're at? Or, is it the roster is that good and we're not realizing it because of the shadow of Mike Tomlin? So it's going to be number one, the most attractive, in my opinion. I think more attractive than the Ravens and all these other teams that have fired their coaches. But we'll see, man. I'm very intrigued to see who they're going to hire.
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, right now, obviously, the knee-jerk reaction is always to say, was it the coach? Was it the players? Are they gonna eat crow for getting rid of an all-time great because it's not always greener on the other side? So time will tell. We'll see how they do. Probably we won't be able to make a judgment until year 2, most likely. But yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously we don't get to see the Steelers in this position very often. It's only their 4th head coach all time. So yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I know Steelers fans are excited for it. Mike, where do you get your beer?
Tanczos Beverage.
Absolutely. That's where I get my beer. So Tanczos Beverage right now, best store in all of Bethlehem, best store to buy your beer in the tri-state area. Tanczos Beverage, you can go there, and right now you can get some non-alcoholic beer. Elysian Easy Dust IPA, rated 8.6 on the B Team Untapped. Very good beer. Go there, grab your beers, say hi to Muller. If you say hi to Muller this week on Wednesday or Friday, you will be the lucky recipient of a slushie. Now, please, we're going to cap this at like 20, Mike, I'm thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll cap it at 20. Say hi to Muller, though. That's all I ask.
Yeah, like I can't be paying for hundreds of slushies here. I'm going to cap it at, I feel like 20 is a lot too. All right, yeah, we're capping at 10 slushies, 10 people. If you come in and say hi, I'll buy you a slushie. Say hello, Muller. Shout out the B Team. You get a slushie this week on Muller. But you got to get into Tanczos Beverages. They are the greatest. Head over to their website, to the app, and you can see everything that they have in stores. New stuff coming in all the time. Great stuff coming in all the time. Yeah, Tanczos Beverages. Get there. Mike, the divisional round is right around the corner here. Let's get into the real games, not just the Steelers. Let's get into the real games. Let's start with the Texans and the Patriots, like we were just talking about. My first question for you is, you see it a lot of times in sports. Defenses win championships. Is this Texans defense too good to fail?
I mean, yeah. I just don't see a sign of them slowing down. I mean, they've been this hot for 8 weeks now, and the defense is just there are no injuries. They keep showing out every week in and week out. I just don't know how, D'Amico's got these guys right. And the defense knows that that team is through them, and the offense relies on them. Let's not, the offense wasn't incredible, against the Steelers, but that defense, you get 2 touchdowns on the defensive side. You got to hang your hat on that. And these guys are going to stay hungry. They're on a mission. They were at the bottom at one point, and the Colts and the Jags were looking up, ready to win the division. Here comes Houston, believing in themselves. I just, the Patriots are hot too, though. And everyone's going to talk about their schedule and how easy peasy it was. But, they just stumped the Chargers. Their defense stumped the Chargers. But we'll see. This is going to be a real test for Drake Maye. And this is really going to show the type of quarterback he is. Even though he's young, I think this defense that he's going to play is going to be one of the toughest defenses yet that he has played. So, do I think the Texans are going to stump the Patriots? Could happen. I think it will. But it also could work on the other side too, where the New England Patriots defense is also going to stump the Texans offense. So, it's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be another coin flip game. I think last week was a coin flip game as well. I think we both took Houston. I'm intrigued to see how the Patriots are going to perform and what they're going to do on the offensive side to get these guys out of order, because they're just so hot right now. They're just playing lights out on defense, and they're stopping everybody. So hell of a game, hell of a match. I'm excited for that one.
No, I am too. And when I look at the betting lines here, they have the Patriots at -3 at the moment, which I think is interesting when you take into account what the Texans just did on Monday night. They put up 30 points on a very good Steelers defense. Now, I'm not saying the Steelers had the best game, but 30 points against a good defense in the NFL in the playoffs is still 30 points. It feels like 40 at times. So I find it very hard when I ask that question to myself, is this defense too good to fail? In the playoffs, margins are so close, right? Margin of error is so close. And the Texans defense is creating those errors for offenses right now. And it just feels like they're getting really, really hot. I know they've been good all year, but it seems like they're getting really, really hot on both sides of the ball at the best moment. and it's going to be hard for me not to pick them this week and possibly even to make it to the Super Bowl next week.
Yeah, and when I look, it's when you look at defenses and how elite they are. It's usually like one positional group. Whether it's the defensive line it's usually always the defensive line or the linebacking core. This defense is just so top heavy all over. I think it's one of the best secondaries I've seen in a while. You got Lassiter back there, you got Derek Stingley back there. The 2020, I believe, is the safety. They're just fiery. They play with fire. They're ball hawks. They just trail their guys, and they can't create any separation. So it's tough for offenses to really adjust to lockdown cornerbacks, a good safety over top that's going to help and get outside the numbers. Like, you don't really see that as much. You see maybe two cornerbacks and maybe a mediocre safety. They are just top heavy all over the secondary. Will Anderson's playing out of his mind. They are just absolutely loaded. But the way I think about this game that's coming up, and personally, I think it's harder to play in Pittsburgh with those fans and that team and at home than it is in New England. Honestly, that's what I truly believe. I think they're not even worried about where they're playing. They're just worried about how the hell are we just going to get to Drake Maye? How are we going to stop the run? They can do it. It's not like they have superstars all over their field. They just have very solid players in every position. And we're talking about the Patriots here. Running back, you got Stephon Diggs looking like a number one again. Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry. These guys are good players. That I don't think they're as elite, as everyone thinks they are, but it's stoppable. I'm not, the Steelers offense, they're also stoppable, but on the road, I don't think that's going to make a bother for them. I really don't.
No, I agree with you. And that kind of leads into my next question here was, does Drake Maye and that offense have enough firepower to beat this defense? And that's another one where I watched their last game against the Chargers, and it was a struggle for a good portion of the game, and I struggle to see how New England wins this, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Yeah, I think a big focal point for that offense in New England is Aaron Rodgers. He's old. He's not as mobile as he is. I think you're going to see Drake scrambling a lot. I think you're going to see him, if that pocket, collapses and nobody's open, he's just going to take off. And, I think it's going to be coming down on the, backyard football, where it might not go to plan, but is Drake going to be, quick enough to realize and then just start running? And I think that's going to if that happens and he does scramble a lot, that will put the Houston Texans defense in a little bit of a rut. It should, the O-line is going to have to play well. It's tough, man, because again, you got to give credit to what New England has done. They just keep winning games every single week. And Drake is playing at an MVP level right now. People are calling him the MVP. So it's going to be a test. And this will, show where he really is, where he stacks, with the other quarterbacks and how he stacks up against these elite defenses like Houston. Anything can happen. I don't know. It's any team that plays Houston is kind of a coin flip because Houston's offense. It's kind of like the Pittsburgh's where you have one really good guy and a couple of other guys. Jaden Higgins is ascending. Christian Kirk looks better, but they're not doing that week in and week out.
Christian Kirk or
you
Charlie
never know
Kirk?
what you're going to get. Yeah.
I cannot believe Stephen A. Smith said that. That is hilarious. I know he's probably going to get a ton of heat for no reason. That is an all-time mix-up on live sports talk television.
Yeah, it's bad, but that's bad, bro. Come on, man. Like you're a sports analyst. This guy's been around the league for so long. What are we doing here?
We're talking about football. How did you switch that one in and out? Charlie Kirk to Christian Kirk. Wild stuff.
He has been going political recently, so I can see
that's true. That's true. He's running for president.
Yeah. Kanye 2026.
No, I do think that a big part of the New England offense last week was Drake Maye using his legs. He was able to scramble a bunch in that first half, and it opened up a ton for that offense. So I wouldn't see why he shouldn't be looking for it in this game, because it was fantastic last game and it opened up everything. So I see how that could possibly get on the upper hand. I'm still riding with that Texans team though, Mike. It's going to be really hard for me to shake that one off. Even when I even struggle to see how the Bills are going to beat them if they play the way they did last night or 2 nights ago. Yeah. If we want to get, so do you want to get into the Denver Bills game? All right, so let's move on here. Well, we're going to give out the parlay picks at the end. We'll go through at the end. Buffalo advanced against Trevor and that Jags team. That game was awesome. Back and forth. The fourth quarter was insane. But now we're looking at a Bills team that's going to be playing against the Denver Broncos. And it just feels like Denver is the most disrespected 1 seed in the entire country of all time, of any sport. And I don't understand why. And I know you're one of the biggest Broncos guys this season. You've been on them from the very start. You've been on Bo Nix. You've been on Sean Payton, that team. So I want to hear what you got to say about this game. I want to hear why you think they're disrespected. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, it's everything I've said, over the last pretty much the whole season. It's where you look at their offense and it's not appealing to the eye. But again, they just find a way to get it done. The offensive line has been playing well. Bo plays well, when he's down in the fourth quarter. They have a lot of comeback wins. And I just, I look at the Bills defense and I don't really, they're not as good as they used to be. And I think Denver can exploit that. Bo Nix is going to have to play well. This is his revenge tour against Josh Allen and the Bills. They got blown out last year by them. And I think, Denver's had a lot of time to prepare for this. Sean Payton's going to have these guys ready. For me, the way I look at it, it's on the receivers. They got to step up. Cortland Sutton's got to be the number one that they have him listed as. He's got to be that guy. Troy Franklin's got to come back. Pat Bryant's got to, step up in this big moment. Like the receivers need to just help Bo out as much as they can. Bo's just got to play well. The defense is going to be there. The defense is going to, they're a top team. They're just like Houston. They are exactly like Houston. They're going to put Josh Allen in hell. But Josh Allen's going to do Josh Allen things like he did against the Jaguars. Literally put the team on his back. That's what we're going to expect. That's what we're going to see. So, yeah, they are the number one disrespected number 1 seed that we've seen. But, I think people are going to see when they play. I think they're going to be like, yo, listen, they might not be flashy. They might not have the most flashiest players, but they get it done, and they find a way to win. And it's a balance. It's a balance because that defense plays well, the offense plays well. And I think you're going to see that against Buffalo.
No, I agree with you. I think that the Buffalo defense is going to be the deciding factor in this game because I can't see anyone stopping that man on a mission in Josh Allen. Dude, that run where it was a quarterback sneak. I refuse to call what he does a tush push because it's just simply not a tush push. He's not a wuss bag like that guy in Philadelphia. He runs right over the defense and got pushed literally 10 yards. They called it a touchdown at first, brought it back, and then he ran it again for the touchdown. But I watch him play football, and I just can't. I can't wrap my head around how this guy literally wakes up in the morning and does stuff after the day after a game. He gets beat up beyond belief. And, we haven't seen a Josh Allen like this in the playoffs in ever possibly because he always runs into Pat Mahomes. This is a guy playing like his life's on the line. I think he knows deep down this is the year if he's going to do it to get it done, get his team over the line. But now he needs that defense to step up. Bo Nix in that offense is capable of they can score in bunches. They did it against the Giants. They did it against numerous teams down the stretch of the season. They had I believe they had the most comebacks in the league this year. I could be wrong with that. They did? I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah. So this is a team that it's another, it's never they just simply do not quit. And the team just sticks to their plan. They keep pushing. They keep pushing. They keep pushing. It's going to take 4 quarters from this defense to really stop this Denver Broncos team from knocking them out of the playoffs. So I'm actually really excited for this matchup. I think this could be the game of the weekend. You got one more thing?
Yeah, and I know I just talked about how Sean Payton's going to prepare for, they have XYZ amount of time to prepare. He knows that Josh, especially when you watch the recent game against the Jaguars, he knows what Josh Allen has to do, and it's literally everything. Like, he literally needs to do everything possible as a human being, as a quarterback, to win that game. Again, like that game against Jacksonville played their absolute asses off, and they had a chance to win that game. They just need to find a way to stop Josh Allen. He's throwing to Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is on the Bills, number 18, if you guys didn't know. He is throwing the ball to him. Keon Coleman. Like, it's a stoppable offense, but Josh Allen is just such a good elite quarterback where you got to find a way to stop him. Everything else will fall into place. If the receivers just have to play well, but they can stop him, and Sean Payton knows this.
So I have a question for you, because you said how they had so much time to prepare for this. Do you think that, because you see this in the college football playoff a lot, that team that gets the bye, they get knocked out right away? And when you look at the playoffs, obviously we have both 1 seeds still in. We had I think it was the 3 seed win, and then we had the 5. Let me pull it up real quick, because both sides are the exact same, which was pretty interesting. So you have the 1 versus the 6 and the 2 versus the 5 still left in the playoffs, right? So that's on both sides. How much do you think that week break, you don't have that pressure on you for a week. You don't have that steady, we're playing football. You stay in that rhythm. How much do you think that affects a professional football team?
Oh, it definitely does. I mean, we've seen it not even just in football, but in other sports. But yeah, no, it definitely does in a way. But I think that's where the importance of a head coach keeping these guys disciplined, making sure they get their reps, live game reps, up to speed, 100%. Like, that's where it comes into play. You don't have guys that are going to slack off. It happens, though. It's sports. It's going to happen. But, I think that Denver will maybe start off a little slow. I think they'll be rattled a little bit. But, it's a weird thing to talk about, because, in a perfect world, every single team should be ready when you have this much time off to prepare for whoever's your next opponent. But I just think at home, the defense is going to, I don't think they're going to miss a beat. It's really just the offense. But for me, I guess to answer your question, it really comes down to, how to approach it, and the type of guy that, whatever head coach it is, Sean Payton has a track record. He's won a Super Bowl with Drew Brees. He's been in this position before. So I think he knows how to handle it. But maybe on the flip side, a Mike McDonald in Seattle, he's never been in this position before. How is he going to approach, having that number 1 seed and having that bye week? How is he going to approach it? So at least Sean Payton knows, because he's been in it before. So I think they'll start off slow, but I think they'll get right up to speed after.
No, that makes sense. All right, let's get into the NFC here.
Like, follow, subscribe, back to the show.
The Niners take down Philadelphia in what felt like we were having a rerun of 2 years ago when their season fell apart. It just so happened that they managed to keep their season together this year. They got into the playoffs. They won the division. But then everyone was it was almost like Philly was at ease now. Kevin Patullo is gone. The season's over. We no longer have to be mad. But was the firing of Kevin Patullo the answer in the reason why this offense couldn't get unlocked? I don't think so. And you know what I'm going to say.
The floor is yours.
You want me to go? Yeah, so if we want to talk about the Eagles here, Kevin Patullo, I can't believe he threw the ball into triple coverage on that last play. I can't believe he did that. What offensive coordinator is catching that ball and throwing it into triple coverage? What quarterback? I can't believe how Eagles fans continue to sit by and watch this happen in front of them to their football team. There is a reason why no offensive coordinator ever stays with Jalen Hurts. You know why? Because they can't stand the guy. That's why. They keep leaving. He's never had the same offensive coordinator since high school. I think they're all leaving because they don't want to deal with him. Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. You have one of the best. You have a top 2 running back in the league. You have a top 5 wide receiver in the league. You got a top 10 wide receiver in the league. You got a top 8 O-line. I'm sorry, but Kevin Patullo was not the reason why you guys lost all these games. He actually called a decent game the other day, I thought. I don't think it's his fault that the quarterback's incapable of running multiple offenses. I don't think it's his fault that the quarterback's incapable of throwing a ball downfield. It's not his fault that the quarterback speaks in poems. It's like, how many years are we going to go over this? Mike, you and I did this with the Steelers for 5 years, and now they finally got to the point where like, oh, wait, the B team was right. We're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts and this Eagles team for 5 years down the line here. And then eventually they're not going to win a single thing the rest of the time. Somehow the Cowboys are going to figure it out and win a Super Bowl. Somehow Washington's going to win a Super Bowl. Giants are going to win a division before the Eagles ever touch a Super Bowl again. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke that they stand by this guy at quarterback. If they and I want to say something here as well. You know, every single team in the league would love to have Mike Tomlin. Every single team in the league would like to have John Harbaugh, sorry. Every single team in the league would like to have Matt LaFleur. Can't speak. No one, including Philadelphia, would like to have Nick Sirianni as their head coach. I am sorry, but they got a clean house. I would say it's probably the most mismanaged organization in all of sports in the last 3 years. This team, there's no reason why a dynasty wasn't created. If you're telling me that Nick Sirianni is a good coach and Jalen Hurts is the truth, and you gave him all these weapons and a great O-line, a great defense, and he can't even get you out the wild card, I don't want to hear one more thing about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys until you guys get past the wild card with this guy again, because this is absolutely atrocious. Dak Prescott's out here. 1 year he doesn't have any weapons. The next year he doesn't have a defense. The next year he doesn't have a head coach. Every year he doesn't have a GM because the owner's the GM and the owner's going absolutely crazy. Am I wrong in any of this? You can tell me if I'm wrong. Was I wrong about Jalen Hurts? I might be half wrong there. I'm willing to be half wrong.
I'll give you my take, and I hope it answers your question. I think the excuses need to stop with Jalen Hurts now. Like, this is now the second time that, yes, they made the playoffs, and it was an ugly entrance like it was a couple years ago, and they got blown out by the Bucs. They ended the year 1-7. I thought, he's a winner. He should be winning. 1-7, and then you get into the playoffs and you lose to the Bucs, and not even any fight. Now you just lost to a team that was beat up with no George Kittle, no Fred Warner. Yes, they had Trent Williams. They didn't have Lane Johnson, right tackle, whatever. But I just think that Jalen Hurts is limiting this team. I truly do. And I've heard rumors that, Shady McCoy saying the same thing. Was Kevin Patullo good? No, he sucked. And I will agree. His play calling was terrible. His concepts, his schemes, they were awful.
Yes, and that's one thing I want to make clear. I'm not saying that Kevin Patullo was great. I think he had many games where I was looking at this and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I'm fully aware of that. I'm just saying that he's not the only reason this team sucked on offense. And I think that some fingers got to get pointed at the quarterback. We can't protect this kid all the time.
And this is the problem, because they're going to blame Kevin Patullo for absolutely everything that has happened with this offense, and they're going to protect their guy Jalen Hurts with their heart because of what he's done and what he did in the Super Bowl. They're going to protect him for that reason, and he's safe. It's all Kevin Patullo's fault. He's the guy that ruined everything. No, Jalen Hurts also did too, because he is limited. He wasn't, he's had his bad moments this year. Literally, if you watch the game, all of these games that he's played, he would have a couple of actual good touchdowns where he threw a nice ball to Devontae Smith. Then I'm watching games where he's getting tush push in the end zone. He's throwing shovel passes to Dallas Goedert. He's throwing a ball for A.J. Brown to just go get up and, bail him out. Like, I just don't see the player that they all see as Philly fans. I don't see it. And you can call him a winner all you want. Everyone talks shit on Sam Darnold. He's the number one seed. Is he a winner? Is he a winner? Because I think he's a winner. I think he goes out and, JSN was the number one, in my opinion, the number one receiver in the league, maybe Puka. He made that guy good. He was giving him the ball. He made him look good. I just think the locker room was lost. And as a quarterback, quarterback brings them up. Not Sirianni, not Kevin Patullo. The quarterback, the leader, the guy who's speaking in poetry, he's the one that's supposed to bring you guys and, lift you up and be better and make you better all around. A.J. Brown was pissed off for the whole season. Him and Sirianni beefed all season. Sirianni didn't pull the pin. He didn't step in and make the call. And Kevin Patullo, what the fuck are you calling? He didn't do that. And the fact that Jalen Hurts is safe for everyone, they're oblivious to it. You want to call him a winner, this, that. Like, listen, the only reason they got to the Super Bowl was because Saquon Barkley lit up every single defense that they played, and he brought them there. Kellen Moore knew the formula. Feed Saquon the ball, get him out in space. How many breakout Saquon Barkley runs do we see this season? A couple?
Two?
A handful?
Three?
He did that twice a game, every single game last year, and went crazy. He was the best running back in the league. Jalen Hurts is limiting this offense. Whether they want to believe it or not, they're already calling for his name. Jalen's not the guy. They can't make up their damn mind down there in Philadelphia. They can't do it. Now that maybe A.J. Brown can actually catch a ball, he's gone. He is definitely getting traded. I already made a bet, my friend. He is absolutely gone, and he should be gone. But we need to take a step back and look ourselves in the mirror and think to ourselves and ask ourselves, is Jalen, is he going to, if let's say A.J. Brown does get traded, is Jalen Hurts going to benefit from this? Is he going to, get worse? I just don't see how Jalen Hurts, and we've said this, and I've said this before, he's not the guy to take over and throw, 50 times a game for 380 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's not that guy. And you can look at the numbers all you want. Yeah, I can throw shovel passes to Dallas Goedert too. We need to take a step back on him. And I think Philly fans are starting to realize this where, hey, we've seen this before. Maybe we got a little bit over our heads. We just lost to San Francisco at home, and we put up 19 points. And yes, Kevin Patullo is running it up the middle, but
and they didn't have George Kittle.
Yeah, and they didn't have George Kittle, and you got Jawan Jennings throwing touchdowns. But I just don't see it. I don't see what they see. I don't.
I agree with you. I think that's a good place to leave that. We'll let the Eagles fans respond to that one.
That's fine.
All right, let's get into the final two matchups here of the NFC. We got the Niners going to Seattle. That's going to be a great game. NFC West matchup. Hopefully, it sounds like Fred Warner might be back for that one. It's going to be really close. So, and that's one of my, that kind of leads into my question. I'm leading into my questions all day here on the show. I'm doing a good job here. Are the Niners too beat up to play the Seattle team?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let me rephrase that because I know that they're going to be allowed to play the game. Are the Niners too beat up to win the game?
Based off no, I mean, listen, they just won that game in Philly. That's a big win. And that defense, Philly's defense is legit. What I saw from Brock Purdy was impressive. That game I was very impressed with what I saw from Brock Purdy. But you got a guy like Christian McCaffrey on your team. Anything could happen. He could break out in space. He's going to get those tough yards. He's going to make every single catch. You can't ever count them out. Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays. He's got the monkey on his shoulder. He wants the Super Bowl. I can't count him out yet. Trent Williams is back. The defense has been playing well. Robert Saleh's got those guys fired up. No, especially against a divisional opponent who they've played twice now, and now we're going to play for a third time. They lost 16-3. I think there was a score. My thing is, how does Seattle respond? How do they answer to what San Fran has just done? How is Sam Darnold going to overcome this? Is he going to be ready? Is he going to go out and get the win that they should win? I do think they should win it. They're going to be favorites. How are they going to stay? How is Sam Darnold going to depict these defenses? Is he going to go through all of his reads? Is he going to struggle? That's where I look at, because I think Seattle's defense, they've seen these guys before. Kittle's not playing. I think they're going to do just fine. My question is, how is Sam Darnold going to do? That's my biggest thing. If Sam Darnold plays well, I think they win. I don't think it's close.
I want Sam Darnold just to have a good game because last year it felt like everyone was on the boat of, okay, are we going to get the Jets Sam Darnold back? When are the tides going to turn? When is he going to be bad again? Right? He's just a hot quarterback. He's going to suck eventually. And then he had that game where, he lost, and the storyline was Sam Darnold still can't get you over the line. He's a good regular season quarterback, but he's not a championship quarterback. Well, ladies and gents, he won 14 games again, and this year he got the 1 seed. He was 1 game away from it last year. This year he got it. I want to see him go out there and get a win. I'm not saying he's going to get it to the Super Bowl, but I would really like to see Sam Darnold, because I know you and I on this show have always supported him. I want to see him get a win. I want to see him in an NFC Championship game. Win or lose, I think that's good for Sam Darnold after everything he's been through.
Absolutely. And he's in a position, I think he's in a very good position where a lot of the guys that he's playing with, they're very good players. The offensive line has gotten better over time. The defense, it's weird because I feel like the Vikings team last year was a very similar team. But, they played the Rams with a young, fiery defense, Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Puka. But, again, I think it's an advantage for them because the Niners are just so beat up, especially on offense, where they literally have Jawan Jennings throwing the ball now. I look at the offense, and it's, McCaffrey's McCaffrey, but they're stoppable. If the defense plays well enough, I don't see them throwing up a lot of points. I have faith. And I really hope that Sam can overcome that, because I think that's something that he needs. That this is a very big game for Sam Darnold. He's got to get it. But also, Mike McDonald, he's got to call a good game. This is his first time in the playoffs, and you're going against someone who's been in the playoffs for, the last 6 to 7 years, waiting to get that Super Bowl, waiting to get that Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be a chess match. It's going to be a chess match between both of those head coaches. And they're on a hot streak. The Niners. They might not. They know that they're injured, but next man up mentality, and they're showing it. So that's a hell of a game. I have Seattle in that game. I think they pull out the win.
I think so too. My heart's with the Niners, but my head's with Seattle. I guess my heart's with Sam Darnold too. I'm all over the place in that game. What I'm not all over the place on, I know we're going to be split on this one, is we have a great showdown. We got the Bears and we got the Rams, and we got a freezing cold night in Soldier Field. Mike, Rams and Matthew Stafford are kind of like the Miami Dolphins. Not great when it gets cold. How much of that coldness is going to be a factor on this night in Chicago? Because for me, I don't think it's going to be that big a factor, but I know that some Chicago fans, I'm not going to list them, have been very vocal in the fact that these guys can't play in the cold weather.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think this is one of the tougher games to judge. We talked about the Patriots Texans game, coin flip. This one, it's like, I want my heart and head are with the Rams, but I'm also man, the Bears have been so hot. Caleb Williams has been fantastic. Ben Johnson's got these guys fired up. It's a tough game. I want to say the Rams because, again, how many more chances is Matt Stafford going to have? But I don't know. I think it's going to be a shootout. And I think the way I'm looking at this game is, we look at last week's game against the, Rams versus the Panthers. The Panthers, lowest seed, massive underdog, 10.5 point underdogs, and they let them hang around. And, Devontae and Puka really weren't playing their best. But when I see a team like the Bears and how powerful they've been, especially at home too, with the way Caleb's been playing and Colson Loveland, shout out to Colson Loveland. He's been incredible. Shout out to Lucas for that. I just can't see how the Rams are going to be the same. I can't see how the Rams are going to let Chicago take over right away, play down to their level. Like I am that high on the Rams, but I honestly think what I've seen from the Bears all year, they're right up to the Rams level. I just don't think the Rams have enough room for error to let these guys just take off right off the bat and start scoring points. They need to act immediately. And I think that's going to be a big emphasis by Sean McVay, which is why I'm taking the Rams. I'm sorry, Lucas. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm taking the Rams. I think they get the win. They're not going to let them hang around. They're going to fire right. It's going to be punch after punch. And I think the Rams come on top and they're going to get that. Listen, you give Matthew Stafford the ball, 2 minutes left. Watch what happens.
No, I know. But at the same time, Mike, you look at this Bears team, and Caleb Williams, just to throw some stats out there, Caleb Williams was the highest graded quarterback in the entire weekend. He had the most big-time throws, which he had 6 big-time throws in that game against the Packers. And that is more than Mahomes has had in all of his Super Bowl runs. So that was impressive in itself. This Bears team, I get this team of destiny feel when I look at them. And I can't pinpoint it because all their games are chaos, it feels like. I never know if they're playing well. I never know if they're playing bad. But somehow they just keep on winning. And I'm pulling for them. I would love to see the Bears make it. If I had to choose one team out of this NFC to get to a Super Bowl, I would really like to see the Bears there. I don't know what it is about them. I think that it's good for the game of football when the Bears are good. I know you and I are going to disagree on this game because I know you're heavy on the Rams. I just think that the Bears have that juice right now. That defense, when I watched that last game against the Packers, and I know it's a rivalry, but that defense was amped. They were running around. They were flying around the field. They were celebrating everything. That offense, after the first quarter, you looked at Caleb Williams was on the sideline grilling people. That's like what Tom Brady used to do. And I think the Bears, after that game, I think most fans knew they had their guy before this, but that just solidified it. The way he responded and carried that team, the way he dug in and got into people and made sure that everyone understood the gravity of that moment. I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for this Bears team. I think the Bears are actually going to win this game by at least a touchdown. And again, you're going to disagree with that 1,000%. But I think this is a 7-10, maybe even 2-score game in the Bears' favor, especially in Soldier Field.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I kind of agree in a way. Like, I obviously disagree, but it's you don't know because what Caleb and Ben Johnson have done, over the last couple of weeks, where they've, last week Packers go up early, then they come back, and Caleb, he's another, and the Bears, there have been another team where they've been down and they've come back, or they've just been up the whole game and they win it outright. I think if the Rams take the lead early, the defense has to find a way, and they cannot let a comeback happen. They got to find ways to make Caleb uncomfortable. You got to have a spy on him possibly, because if he's going to scramble, he's going to throw. It doesn't even matter if he throws off his back foot. He could throw off no feet, and he's still going to hit a fucking dime. So it's just, how do you contain that? When you let him roll out, it's like he's not even escaping the pocket. He's going to deliver an absolute missile to somebody. But yeah, it's going to be close, man. Like, part of me is like, I want to just take the experience, but then part of me is like, man, this team has been hot. Well, Caleb's on a damn mission, and so is Ben Johnson. So it's going to be an absolute another chess match between two great offensive minds. So, I don't know. I think it's one of the tougher games. I don't know what to expect, but the number one game on my list this week is that game, and I can't wait.
Well, perfect. Hey, let's get into our real predictions here. So, do you want to start with the parlay, or do you want to do our mortal locks first?
Ooh, let's throw out the mortals first. We both went 1-1. I'm feeling them.
All right, you go first with the spreads.
All right, so the spreads are a little funky this week.
Now, hand up, If you say a certain spread, I'm automatically taking the other side of the line.
Okay, that's fine because you probably will anyways.
I want you to know that there's only one game that could happen.
Right, yeah, and I think it's going to be that game. I am taking Denver plus 1.5. That is going to be my lock. It's going to happen.
Yes, and I am taking the Buffalo Bills minus 1.5.
Yeah, I have to stick with my prediction, and my track record in the playoffs is pretty damn good. If I pick a team or at least two teams to make the Super Bowl, they usually do, or they get damn close. I'm gonna take Denver with the 1 seed. The Bills, everyone's gonna be circling the wagons. I'm not circling the wagons. Give me Denver at home. Sean Payton's gonna be ready. Bo Nix is gonna be ready. He's gonna shut up all these haters. Troy Franklin's gonna go for fucking 3 tutties. I'm taking Denver plus 1.5. Give me the dog and the 1 seed.
I can't wait to come back to that. Yeah, it's going to be great. Buffalo minus 1.5. Josh Allen's going to make you his bitch. All right, over-unders. You want to go first?
Yeah, let me go first. What was I taking?
Now, this would be hilarious.
Yeah, so, okay. I don't think you'll take this one, but you might. I'm going to take an over. I've been an under guy, and I've been scorching hot on these. I'm going to take the over 44.5. in the Niners game. I think after the last time they played, low scoring game, I think the over is going to hit, and I think Sam Darnold's going to have to put up points, and I think Christian McCaffrey's going to have to just carry. I think the over is bound to hit. I think it's one of these games that people are forgetting about because there are so many other good games. I think this is going to be kind of a shootout. I'm going to take that.
I like that. I agree with you there. I'm actually going to be taking it over as well. Houston, New England over 41.5. Now, I know that we just spent a good amount of time talking about how their defenses are fantastic, but this is the playoffs, and usually when you talk about these all-time defenses, there's usually one moment where it's not that they're keeping points off the board, but it's going to come down to the end of the game which team can hold up the best. And I think this is going to be one of those games. I think both offenses were very slow to start this week. I think New England was pretty bad throughout almost the whole game offensively, trying to get points on the board. Obviously, Houston figured it out in the second half. I think both offenses come out clicking and get the defenses on the back foot early. And then at the end of the game, you're going to see more defensive efforts stopping the offense. But I think the over 41.5 is actually free this week.
Yeah, that honestly was like my next pick. I think the same exact thing, where we talk about these two defenses, they show out in the previous week, and then something just happens. So yes, I agree. For betting purposes, I would take that as well.
Yeah. All right, let's do our parlay. I think we should do it the same way we did last week, where the AFC is yours because you're a Jets fan. NFC is mine because I'm a Cowboys fan. You'll get the first pick in the AFC, and then I'll have the first pick in the NFC.
Roger. I like it.
Good with that?
We got close. We were close, honestly.
Dude, we only missed 2 games. We missed the Chargers and the Eagles. But the Eagles one was a spite one. That was a can't lose type.
So was mine. Yeah, mine was kind of a spite, like screw the Patriots, give me the Chargers. Yeah, I was in the same boat.
Yeah, we do that way too often. We screw ourselves way too often with that. We really gotta stop doing
but
that.
It's the games are narrowing down, though, so I think it will be better for us. The smaller the sample size, I think we'll actually win it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I have a feeling I'm going to get screwed right off the bat here with your first pick. So give me the AFC.
It's Denver.
I knew this was going to happen.
It's definitely Denver. I'm telling you, they're going to win this game.
All right. Well, in that other one, I think, oh gosh, you gave me a tough one here. I'm going to go with what I said earlier. I'm going to go with the Texans. I'm going to go with the hot hand. I think CJ Stroud and that offense look good. Now, I do want to say I will be switching to the Patriots if Nico Collins cannot go. He's in concussion protocol right now. And if he can't go in this game, I will be switching to the New England Patriots because I think that's too big a blow for CJ Stroud.
Yep, agreed.
All right, on to the NFC. You know what? Screw you, Mike. I'm taking the Bears. Give me the Bears.
That's fine. You're making my life easy. Give me Seattle.
Yeah. All right. That's fine.
I'm glad you chose the Bears game because it is really a toss-up.
It is, but that's one of the bigger money line spreads of the week. Seattle's minus 350, but the Rams, they have them at minus 205 right now, 3.5 on the spread. San Fran's a +7 underdog right now. Yeah, I can't see some of these games being as lopsided as what this would lead you to believe, especially on the NFC side. But our parlay, so we got the Broncos, Texans, Bears, Seahawks. 4-leg parlay brings it out to plus 1,500. So we put 25 on that. You can win a quick 400. That's a nice parlay to end the season before we get into the AFC Championship game. Well, good. That was a good show. Broke down every single game, everything that happened. Yeah, it always is good at the end of the season when you get to this point and you can really break down every single game and it doesn't take you 8 hours. That is nice.
Yeah. And listen, throughout the year, there's only so many games that, we all watch different games. How I watch, I know how you watch. So there's so much to cover every single week. There's so many, moments and, firings and injuries and drama. Like we could go on and on for hours about each game if we really wanted to. But yeah, once playoffs come in, you understand like these teams are better. How are they going to win? It's more in depth. I enjoy talking about the playoffs because there's such good games and everyone has different opinions on them. It's not like, they're going to win. It's a stamp. Like you'll have people out there who think the Niners, what they've shown against Philly, they'll come out and they'll beat Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. It's like, everyone's got different opinions. It's never like the Bills, Bills, Denver. Everyone's split on that. So it's always fun. It's always fun to hear what people think.
No, absolutely. But no, another good show, another good weekend ahead of us. Shout out to our new presenting sponsor once again, Tanczos Beverages. Shout out to everyone that's subscribing. Keep on subscribing. Helps us out a ton. We hit 500 this week. Next stop, 1,000. Let's keep this train going. Mike, anything else you want to add?
No, I want to say shout out to you guys who watch this stuff, get us to 500. Shout out to Tanczos. You guys are great. We do this for y'all, man. There's only a couple weeks left. We end the season strong and we go into the off season head held high. And we got a lot to talk about. A lot of good stuff coming in the off season. So let's keep it going, live in the moment, and let's enjoy these games while we can.
That was beautiful. All right, let's get out of here. See you guys.
Peace.